States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
Somebody playing Pokemon over there?
This is the fun side, Randy.
We'll see.
All right, on roll call, Mrs. Brown Knight,
Here.
Dr. Lewis.
Here.
Mrs. Rankin.
Here.
Mr. York.
Here.
All right, I've got communication here from Leah and from Rob. I need a motion in a second to excuse them.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Brown Knight,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, they'll be excused. Now, Rob also sent, in addition to that letter, he has some other information on here regarding the strategic plan. I'm going to treat this as two separate things, and we'll get to that a little bit later. All right, has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes? And we have two, do we have two sets of minutes? Yeah. All right, we have two sets of minutes. Any questions regarding those minutes? We all good with those minutes? There were also the minutes, from the special meeting? Yeah, okay, we're all good. All right, a motion and a second to accept.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Brown Knight,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, we'll accept those minutes. All right, continuing on. In communications, you have Chief Hines' report. Any questions regarding that report? Chief, do you have any comments to make regarding that report?
I do not at this time.
At this time, it's fairly straightforward. All right. The report from the Assistant Fire Chief Dan Copeland. Any questions regarding that? Dan, do you have any comments or remarks that you'd like to make regarding it? It looks like you've been busy.
Yeah.
Busier than normal, shall we say? Yeah.
We were above by 104 or 130 runs from the year before.
Uh-huh.
And last month alone, we made 68 runs. And the majority of those were structure fires, including one within the village that by the end of it would be about $4 million.
Yeah, yeah. And then also there was the bad structure fire in Fairfax as well, right? Yeah.
Crews pulled up right at the same time as the Miami's. The Miami's was attempting to get water on it, along with our police officers. They identified where one of the victims was, and the police got her out. As they got her out, she told them where the other one was. Mariemont's fire crews went in, did a quick search of the first floor. On their way back out, they found the gentleman. He was unconscious, rather sizely guy, and they dragged him out and got him out onto the ladder and released out to the ambulance. And chance unfortunately passed away
Oh, yeah.
a couple days later. But we remained on that scene for quite a while with the death investigation because we were one of the first trucks there.
To show up, yeah. Yeah, that was extremely good work on your part, part of our guys.
Did you determine what the cause of the fire was?
Unattended smoking.
Figured it would be a space heater.
Yeah.
No, no.
All right, party guy.
All right. It's
They're
Valentine's
still
Day. Who's calling?
No, they're collecting on those bets from yesterday.
All right, we've got the report from Mr. Scherpenberg. It's a rather lengthy report this time. A lot of work went into this, I can see. It's also the annual, yes, I'm aware. Talk so that we can all hear, please.
Look at this.
Do you wish to make any comments about this?
No, just to let you know that I did give you an update of the storms from last year and cost factors with including the benefits that FEMA allows us to claim. So we're right on track from last year, this year, as far as the number of snowfalls. We're still cleaning up from the ice storm and trying to make sure that the sewers are all clear and open for the next rain that's coming up this forest.
I see where you did a calculation where the cost of the average snow event for us is something like $2,000 and $2,029.
Yes, that was last year.
That was
This year's
last
a little
year.
higher with the cost of salt and everything else.
Yeah.
It'll be a little bit more higher.
We have a good supply of salt, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Enough to finish out this year.
Uh-huh.
So we'll be good.
Okay.
So we had that huge snowfall last February, like 9 inches. Wasn't that last year?
Yep, it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Just a couple days.
But this ice is crazy.
Well, I know I can certainly speak on behalf of all the residents that I have talked to regarding your ice and snow removal. Everyone was extremely pleased with your work, and as am I. And I know it's a big job, it's a lot to get out, to keep, to get ahead of, just try and stay ahead of. And this particular ice storm that we had was particularly vexing. I know part of my own driveway has still got a layer of ice in it that, because the sun never hits it, and you can't get it up. I mean, it's like concrete.
Right, it
Yeah.
is.
Mayor, I'd like to congratulate John also from the police department standpoint. The officers, they monitor the roads and they call John when it needs attention so it doesn't get too awful bad. And he and his crew, they were in and on it, and coming in the next morning, our roads were in a lot better shape than most. So
Yeah.
he did a great job. Thanks, John.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I texted you to that effect.
All right, from zoning officer, Mr. Holloway, who I believe is sitting in the back. We all have his report. It looks like you've been busy as well.
It was a good month in January.
Good month of January, off to a good start here. A lot of people doing a lot of work. Any questions regarding his report? Rod, any comments you'd like to make regarding it?
Average month.
Yeah.
Bob still helped out quite a bit, 35 hours of time just continuing to scan some of the old documentation we have.
Okay, okay. All right, and there's a request here from Police Chief Hines regarding some taser replacements, correct, Chief?
That's correct, sir.
Yeah. Now, we've appropriated this money,
Correct.
so I believe all I really need here is a show of hands to proceed. Y'all familiar with this? Y'all saw the document? You have any comment about this, Chief? Pretty straightforward.
It's pretty straightforward. That, I believe I attached the quote, did I not?
Yes.
You did.
And I believe that quote was from November, is that correct?
Yes.
Yep.
And
November
I think
22nd.
there has been an increase since that November quote, but I don't know exactly how much the increase amounts to, but
Okay.
it shouldn't be a whole bunch. So
Okay.
if, I think the quote is what, 50?
5811.
5811. Yeah, if we could maybe put it not to exceed 6,000.
6,000.
Yeah, I think that'll cover the increase.
Okay.
I mean, we've got not to exceed 6,500 on the,
Well, okay, well, that'll definitely cover it, so
Okay.
that's great. All right,
I want to just give you that little extra bit.
there you go, little extra cushion.
Okay, so show of hands, everybody in favor of proceeding? Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right, now getting back to the correspondence from Mr. Bartlett. We are, sort of in the process, we're putting together the strategic plan for the village under the help with the Ohio plan, which is our insurance. Well, I was going to do it now because I got it all otherwise. I'm going to get it out of the way. Yeah. We were going to talk about, we were all asked to provide names Rob has got some names that he would like to have considered here. I don't know, is somebody going to keep track of this? I mean, what we want to do is generate a list, and then these people are going to be contacted, as to their availability and so on and so forth.
So I guess I'm sorry to interrupt, but my concern was, so we're giving names, but we have not spoken with the people yet, right? So, I mean, the odds are,
In general, yes, we haven't,
Okay.
right, yeah. I mean, I have spoken with the ones that I'm going to be recommending, and they're good to go, but I mean, I know not everyone has done that.
I'm not spoken to mine.
Mine yet, okay.
I mean, should we touch base with them before we?
I think we should.
I think we should. I mean,
Before we
I
put
don't
the
wanna
names
say-
out
I don't
publicly
want
and-
to say like, hey,
Yeah.
so-and-so is gonna
Yeah.
be
Okay.
there, and they're like, I'm
I
not
would
doing
rather
that.
do that.
So who do we submit them to?
Well,
Why don't you give them to me, and then we can do it at the next meeting, and they can be listed?
yeah, that's fine. Let's do it this way. I mean, each individually, you've got a list, you've got a list. You should call your people, make contact with them, and see if they're yay or nay. And if so, and I'm assuming we should all have backups, go to your
Well,
secondary
well,
list.
can we submit them to Joni's to see, because you might have duplicates. And that way, I don't want to be calling somebody if Susan's calling them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you could just submit your list and say if you've contacted them, and then we can go from there.
Okay, yeah.
Does that make sense to you, Joni?
I would just include everybody on the list.
So you're saying like we all give you the name, and if there's duplicates, then I guess you can let us know, and we'll, if you and I have somebody the same, then we can figure out which one of us should be the one to contact them.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
Instead
okay.
of you calling somebody and then me calling them the next day.
Right.
Not knowing that you've spoken to them.
Yeah.
So just, oh,
Well, who's going to do the calling?
Well, she's going to give us the final list, and then if it's our pick, we'll do the calling.
Okay.
Yeah.
a
Is
couple.
that okay?
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Well, a couple questions. First, is there any, I have I got a bio from the person I was recommending. I don't know, I think there are bios attached to Rob's email.
There are.
Yeah, so what should we submit for all of us to make an informed decision? And then I have an email from somebody who would like to be considered, whom I don't know personally, but I could ask him to submit his name and bio for consideration. But, I don't,
Well, I think you have a good point, because, you're talking about someone who's submitting a bio. I don't know to what extent we're searching for credentials. And we've got demographics that we want to touch upon.
correct.
I think the big thing is we need new voices,
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not sure if we even need 2 council members there.
Maybe not.
And maybe we should make that decision tonight of if it's 2 and who those 2 are. Clearly, the mayor needs to be there. But I think beyond that, I don't think we need 2 council members even.
I think that's a good point, that we should allow someone to get involved that's not, we should open that space up to someone. I agree with you, Rita.
Do you want to, okay, Rob is volunteering himself. Should we throw this out? Who else would like to volunteer? Or do you want to make a suggestion as to who it might be?
Well, I can't. I'm out.
I'm fine with Rob doing it.
Do you want to volunteer?
I'm out of town on the 5th.
I don't have any particular attachment.
Okay. Okay.
Well, no, I'd do it if nobody else wanted to. I'd be happy to do it.
I would say
I would
you
enjoy
and
it.
Rob do it, and
All
then
right.
I think the rest of them can be.
Can stay.
And
Yeah,
again, the
let's
only
get-
caveat I would say is I saw Rob's names, but those are folks that are involved already. Those are voices who are already here.
Right.
I agree.
We
Right.
know how those
Yeah.
people
I
feel
agree,
about
I
things.
agree, I
That's a
agree.
So I would
point.
say the acid test is let's get some new voices so we can hear what we're not hearing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think if we're going to open, and I touched base on this, I think if we're going to open up another seat, that we should look at having the demographic of a senior person. I hate using that term because I'm so close.
Well, I thought the mayor was filling that role.
Yeah, that's right, your dual role.
It's
Well,
a
let's
dual-
see,
it's a
we can
dual.
check, wow, we can check 3 things up.
Trifecta.
If you could get your real estate license, we wouldn't need it.
Could just be mayor.
Susan has a good point here, though, in terms of, I'm not entirely certain how far into, getting credentials from these people. I mean, first and foremost, Randy's point, we do want to get a much broader cross-section of people, and we are asking these people, to volunteer. So I'm not really sure that we can, we have ideas about coming up with our own individual picks based on either how we know them or what we know about them, kind of a thing. I'm just not sure that we're going to run them through some type of an acid test as to their
Yeah,
credentials.
How do we decide if there are more nominees than there are spots?
I don't anticipate that.
Yeah. Well, I think it's first of, are we capturing that? Because we want someone that operates a business right here in the square. So, how many, that'll be
Right.
one person.
Right.
And then we want these different age demographics. One of the ones on our list is someone from the industrial park, and you're gonna have to do that, Mayor.
Yeah,
because-
I am in the midst of
Good,
working
good,
on
good,
that,
good.
yes.
So I have a feeling it's not gonna be tough to find 12 once we start that process.
Right, I don't think it'll be done.
Probably part of the weeding process would be, to Randy's point, we want to make sure that we sort of fill the slots as broadly as possible, and that's probably what we'll do. I mean, we'll approach it that way at first, and then,
Okay.
I mean, if we have a heavy duplication in one area, then, I don't know, we'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it, I guess.
I think the other thing that I would like to offer is I do think we need to look at it through a lens of diversity, that if we're building for our long-term future in this community, that we lack diversity in identifying folks of color that also fit those categories, so we can bring a multitude of perspectives as we plan for our future.
Oh, yeah.
Great
yeah,
So that's,
yeah, definitely,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so then everybody's good. We're going to submit the list to Joni, and we'll make the calls from
But
there.
then, just to clarify, it's not Joni's responsibility to reach out to these people.
No.
Okay,
No,
I
she's
just
going
want
to compile the list.
Confirm that on the record.
Send them to you.
Yeah.
So is everyone gonna say the name and where they're classified?
What
Like
demographic
a
they
property
are?
owner, or,
That's gonna be
I think that
Yeah.
would be helpful.
Yeah,
that's helpful.
agreed.
Okay. All right. All right, moving on. Permission to address council. Looks like we have a good group of folks in here tonight. Anybody want to go first?
Got a lot of papers here, but don't worry, the print's big. For the record, my name's Terry Gaines. I am a second-time resident. I've been a resident probably totally now about 39 or 40 years, off and on. I live in Emery Park on the corner of West Street and Madisonville Road. Recently, Council passed an ordinance prohibiting parking on that short strip of West Street, which runs between Emery Park and Nolan. Most of the residents of Emery Park and Nolan categorized like me. We're a little bit elderly, so to speak. And our entrances are on West Street. Guests park on West Street during the day. The post office people park on West Street during the day. The delivery people park on West Street during the day and use those two entrances, ours and Nolan's. There are 44 residents in Emery Park, and I'll stand corrected, but I believe there's 46 residents in Nolan. We realize fully, and I have my support group here, but we realize fully that there is a problem with parking on West Street. But that problem seems to be confined to between 8 and 9 a.m. and 3 and 4 p.m. when school is taking up and letting out. I've never seen a problem during the day. Now, obviously, if there are cars parked, somebody might have to wait, but it's not been an issue as it is when the school bus comes through there. All of us are in agreement, all of us in our building especially, that parking needs to be limited in the hours that I specify, 8 to 9, 3 to 4. But to eliminate parking for the rest of the day creates a terrible inconvenience for some of our visitors who are oftentimes elderly and don't get around as well as they used to. I would also comment that it doesn't make any difference how you limit the parking. If Chief Hines' people don't go over there and enforce it, it's not much going to matter, including leaving it as it is at the present time. The last time I came here to address this issue, Eddie stepped up and told me that this thing had been studied ad nauseum by the safety committee and that residents had been interviewed and talked. I don't know of anyone in our building of 44 residents that were conferred with about this regulation. So what I'm asking for on behalf of the residents is that this not be enforced at this time and that the ordinance be amended to prohibit parking between 8 and 9 and 3 and 4 during school days. Otherwise, it should be open season for parking. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Well, let me start by asking, well, let me make one thing clear. We had the third reading of this at the last meeting, I believe. And then, of course, you have the 30 days after that for it to take effect. And I believe it did go into effect this past Friday, if I'm not mistaken, or over the weekend. So the ordinance currently is in effect. So in order for us to change this, I mean, you know, if we revisit the issue, you know, which we may consider that here, you know, we would have to do that. We'd have to go probably back through the committee, so on and so forth. So I'm just saying that you know, the ordinance is in effect now. You know, could there be a grace period in here in terms of enforcement while we're doing that? Yes, that's possible, of course. But I do know that this issue, you know, was discussed and talked about and vetted, you know, as it went through the committee process. And, you know, it was, I think, decided, you know, that there is a safety issue involvement there, you know, because that section of West Street, there is a lot of cut-through traffic, not just during these hours, but, you know, also through the, you know, the rest of the hours of the day. Let me ask you this, too. It's my understanding that you do have guest parking that is part of the building's parking facility under the building. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's in the basement.
Is that, I mean,
You
it's
go
not
down the
sufficient?
street, into the driveway, into the basement, but it's off, there's not a lot of it.
Uh-huh.
And if you want, it's just inconvenient, especially for people that are a little bit older.
Sure. Sure.
And you've got 90 residents there, most of whom are elderly. Most of their friends are elderly. Most of the visitors are elderly. And I cannot understand that was not taken into consideration. That 90 residents in a 200-foot street.
Right.
And I think that it needs to be amended, and I think it needs to be amended ASAP.
Let me also ask, the Nolan building, which I believe is the larger building, the one that's closer to the square.
Correct.
Does that not have a secondary entrance into that building off of Thorndike?
I can't answer.
Did anyone who lives there?
We do, but it's on, and I was gonna mention that. We do have that secondary, that they can still pull down names and bring the person to be
Yeah,
but it's a long walk from Thorndike up to that door.
right.
We have, one person is confined to a wheelchair, and he has therapy and nursing staff come in shifts all day long, several shifts. And the closest to get to him is the West Street parking and the West Street elevator, because he lives in that end of the building.
Well, how does he get up the steps on the West Street entrance?
He doesn't get up the steps, they have to go up to handle him.
Oh,
If he leaves, it's a chore for him to get him down.
uh-huh.
And he walks down the steps to get back in his wheelchair.
Oh, I
He goes
see.
in the car, but
I see.
these days anymore, he is pretty much confined to a wheelchair all the time.
Okay.
And we have another person on a walker. So, I know that the terminology in the Disabilities Act says reasonable consideration
Sure.
for disabilities. And it's my understanding that this was all brought about because of someone who needs to get a disability child to the school. But West Street isn't the only way to get to the school. But for a lot of us, it's important that we have that easy access
Mhm.
and have that parking.
Yeah.
I don't know that the ordinance,
Yeah.
did the ordinance specify that this was no parking ever? No parking all year
Yeah,
round?
it's,
No.
now it's
Prohibited, yeah.
no
What
parking.
does that do for all of us in the summer when there is no school? I live on West Street, and I live right in the front of the building on the first floor. I can see the bottleneck that's caused mostly at the time school dismisses, not so much in the morning. And I see that and I understand it, because I worry about, we've had the emergency services at our building or your building several times for people, and I've worried about that.
Yeah.
But it only seems to be in those particular times. I have never noticed another problem.
Kelly and Randy, would you care to comment? I mean, you're both on the safety
Well,
committee when this
it
was
was
done.
Avia, and Avia lives right there. So Avia Graves, she was chairman of the safety committee that did all this, and Avia lives right around the corner there.
Right.
And she was the one that really drove all this. She had seen it. I apologize. I thought she had spoken to the residents of both buildings.
Well, I would
Clearly
like
that
her
never-
to speak on it. I would like her to have some input
Yeah,
on that.
I think, I would like to circle back with her.
Well, with her, or what we can do, because, I mean, obviously, she's off council now, and Leah is the chair of safety now, I
Yes, she
believe,
is.
correct? Yeah. I mean, we can just put this back into that committee, and we can re-examine it. We can talk to, more people and try to come to, some type of a fair solution to the problem. And ma'am, could you say your name, please?
Cindy.
Cindy
Mayor,
Simpson.
would it be, I would love to hear, Chief, from you about your the safety concerns were related and informed the final
Well,
recommendation.
I mean, obviously, from what I've observed, Mr. Gaines is right as far as
Okay.
the bulk of the problem is during the morning hours of the school, the 8 to 9, the 3 to 4. Talking with solicitor here, Mr. McTighe, I don't have an issue at all with examining this and massaging it or whatever needs to be done, so that, I knew there was a lot of residents in those two buildings. I didn't realize there was 90 units. That's a lot of people, to be
Easy.
affected. So,
I didn't know you lived there, Bill.
I do not have a problem at all with, temporarily suspending it and looking it over.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we want to arrive, I mean, safety has to be, one of the main considerations. But, your physical, personal safety coming and going in the building, the access, ease of access, clearly that has to be a consideration as well. So, yeah, I think.
I just want to, I think it's important, there was a lot, I believe, of work done on this, and it was driven by safety and informed by that. So it is just to take a moment and make sure, because I think all of us are on the same page about that safety is paramount. What does that look like? How is it balanced? And I know for certain that was Avia's driving factor
Oh,
too.
for sure.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
And as soon as school opens and as soon as it closes,
you're right.
traffic's gone.
So,
It's mostly at that time, but I clearly can see that it is a bottleneck, particularly on the closing time. But I would just like to see reasonable consideration or accommodation given to the residents as well as the
Well,
person.
and we have signage at other places in the village, you know, where you can't park during certain hours. You know, on the other side of West Street, on the other side of West Street.
Right.
You know, as someone who used to park there before.
Well, that's fine, but
Well, what would-
to eliminate it all year round forever, when school's not even in session 3, almost 4 months a year, considering vacations and stuff, that's unfair, I think, to the residents. So just a reasonable accommodation to us as well as the person's requesting.
Sure.
So what would be, I'm sorry.
The bottleneck normally is caused, first of all, the big school bus causing a major problem. But that has to be there.
That's correct.
So but most of the people parking during those particular hours are people that could take advantage of driving through the school's pickup lot and don't do it.
Yes.
I see.
Mostly in the morning, it's parents.
Yeah.
Most of them walk because my dog loves to walk, all the
Right.
kids walk to school.
Right.
But the ones that drive will park almost all the way to the corner.
Right.
Because I'm sure they think, we're only gonna be here 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But that causes a major problem because they don't even pay attention to the spaces or the yellow lines where
Right,
they can't.
right.
Yeah, 5 minutes in that time period is a big problem. Yeah, I think everybody's on the same page with
Yeah.
that.
I do too. I was just gonna say with Mr. Gaines's powers of persuasion, I think we're all on the same page here.
Excuse me,
that
I
this-
think there were other people that were persuasive.
That's what swayed us.
but-
I'm elderly too.
So, but I do think it is important to say, I don't think this was driven by one person's needs. It was
Right.
driven by a comprehensive look at safety and
Right,
certainly
right. I
getting
agree
that.
with that.
Well, and the
Yeah.
whole committee, I mean,
You know, unfortunately.
recommended that.
Yeah.
We've said this, and Mr. Gaines and I.
Understood, yeah.
Go way, way back. We talked about this a lot. A lot of times when we have safety committee meetings, finance meetings, we put out the notices, but a lot of people don't know about them. So we don't get as much input as we'd otherwise like to have. And this happens probably more often than it should, that people come after the fact.
Come after the fact, because if I could make one suggestion, if this goes back to committee, committee meetings will be held.
And
if-
posted.
What I'm trying to say is, if a group of you, if some of you could attend those meetings, because that is really the time for you to air out your concerns and your opinions about, what we're doing, because that all feeds into a process of making the decision about what is fair and equitable and, most safe. So we'll try to get that posted out so y'all know when we're doing it.
Right, and Chief Hines says he has no problem in temporarily suspending enforcement of that no parking until the safety committee can meet with everyone that needs to be heard from, and then making a recommendation.
Or reconsider limited hours and not just all or nothing.
Right, sure.
Cindy,
And John,
to answer your question
the
about how
signs aren't up yet, are they? Okay, so.
about how you would get notified as to when the meetings are?
Yes, that's enough.
That's,
Yes.
well, the village sends out an email when the
Where do they do
meeting
that?
is
Is there emails?
scheduled. So I don't know if you guys are all on that email.
Yeah. Go to our website and
if
opt
you-
in. You can
Yeah.
opt in on announcements.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know that no one in our building knew anything about it. If
Okay.
anything came up and they all come, I'm the secretary of our board, so they all ran to me.
Your
"Cindy,
fault.
what are the bags over the signs out? What do they need?
Yeah.
So if you go to the village's website, it gives you the opportunity to sign up for emails, and those
Okay.
emails will tell you when the meeting
Great.
is going to be. So
And
that-
what the
that should
subject
help.
matter is.
Right.
Okay.
Gonna be. It's also posted on the website too, correct? I mean, the meeting times and dates and the
Okay.
subject matter are just posted on the website as well.
I just posted once, one time.
If you sign up, it'll.
Well, if
it'll
you
send
sign
a
up, you'll get the-
A specific email will go straight to you
Mm-hmm.
and to all 500 people that are joined. We also post it on the calendar. Again, that takes a little more digging on your part. But if you sign up for the email distribution list, you're gonna get everything that comes from the village office.
It's
Whether
really
or
the
not-
best.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Yeah.
careful what you wish
Whether
for.
it's something, you can easily just look at the title and go, okay. But that's the best way to
Mhm.
stay informed.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right,
Cool.
all right.
Thank you.
So what do we need to, I mean, the ordinance is in effect, so can we?
Yeah.
It
Yes.
is in
So-
effect,
It is
but
in
we can
effect.
temporarily
So we can, so
suspend
someone needs to
enforcement
make a
of it.
movement to temporarily suspend the ordinance.
Or we-
Please.
don't
So
think
do
we
I need to?
No, I think
Yeah,
that-
why don't you just make an oral motion to do that, and that'll give these people here the comfort level that we're not gonna enforce it for at least the next month or 3 weeks, whatever it takes us to put together the safety committee meeting.
All right, so I move to temporarily suspend the ordinance regarding parking on West Street.
Enforcement of it.
Well, suspend it, enforcement. of the
Enforcement.
Yeah, suspend enforcement, yeah, that's what we're talking about, yeah.
Second,
Anybody second that?
yeah, second.
John,
Okay.
any further discussion?
So then, Bill, you move this back into safety committee at
Yes.
this point? Okay.
Yes.
Who's in safety, who's ahead of
Leah.
safety?
It's Leah.
Leah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do I need to call roll on that? We'll vote on that. Vote on the suspension.
All right, so, does that, I hope that covers, I mean, you know, covers, okay, okay. Anybody else, anybody else want, on another topic?
Well, technically, you should vote on
Oh, you want me to call the
Yeah, I was
roll?
gonna say,
All right.
I think it's all yays, but
Mrs. Brown Knight,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
aye.
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
Okay. Voted, signed, and there we go, we'll all be good. Okay.
Terry, Rick just said he'll give you a call when it's gonna be set, okay?
Yeah.
Who's that young guy with Dan?
That's Matt Clark. He's on the fire department. He's been there for a long time. Such a great firefighter. Grew up very bad.
Julie, I meant to say hi earlier, so hi, bye.
Thanks for coming.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Careful on those steps, please.
Well, you know how to clear a house, Mayor.
Yeah.
Yeah, go out the elevator.
If you
There's
want-
an elevator. There is an elevator.
Oh, so funny.
Mimo, we call her Mimo. Mimo. Because it's so funny, because I played tennis with Al, and it's like, her legs are the same as your legs.
Oh, yeah.
The initial recommendation was all day. I feel like that, okay.
I live in
So,
All right,
Oh, that's right, that's right.
all right, guys.
Nice job over there on that
Pay the bills.
little report.
Permission to pay the bills
No.
and a motion. I need a motion.
I move that we pay bills.
I second that we pay bills.
Any question regarding the bills?
45 units
We all good with the bills?
with 2 people.
Sure.
Good with the bills.
All right, do I have a motion?
I don't think it's that many units.
You did it, you just did it
Did I
backwards.
get it? I'm not paying attention here. Mrs. Brown Knight,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis. Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, we'll pay those bills. All right.
Couple of reports.
Couple of reports, Tony.
First one from the Health and Recreation Committee regarding tennis rates and capital needs. The Health and Recreation Committee met on Wednesday, February 2nd, 2022 at 4:00 p.m. Present at the meeting were Health and Recreation Committee members Randy York, Chair, Susan Brown Knight, Vice Chair, Leah Gelbaugh, Member, and Mayor Bill Brown. The committee reviewed recommended rate increases from the Marymount Tennis Association for the 2022 season. The committee agreed that the updated rates for the 2022 season will be as follows. This is, I'm going to go from 21 to 22. So family resident from 130 to 150, non-resident family 150 to 175, adult resident from 60 to 70, adult non-resident 70 to 80, junior resident 34 to 40, junior non-resident 40 to 50, senior resident 55 to 60, and senior non-resident from 60 to 75. The committee also reviewed the capital expenses necessary to maintain the 7 tennis courts. Total Tennis, Inc. has provided estimates and an overall maintenance schedule. The schedule recommends a total asphalt overlay every 20 to 25 years at a cost of $455,000 to $595,000, and a court reconditioning every 4 years at a cost of $90,000 to $95,000. This type of maintenance schedule would require a capital allocation of between $40,750 to $48,750 per year to fund ongoing and projected maintenance. The committee reviewed Marymount Tennis Association participation statistics and finances over the past 4 years. There were 163 paid memberships in 2021, down slightly from a high of 173 in 2019, but well above the rolling average of the past several years. MTA had revenues of $15,150 in 2021, up from $11,695 in 2020, and have been rising steadily since 2018. MTA has also conducted fundraising and assisted in the renovation of the tennis pavilion. The plan of action for Mariemont Tennis will be as follows. MTA will raise rates across the board for the 2022 season with a goal of having annual income of $10,000 in excess of expenses that will go towards permanent improvements. MTA will work with the Marymount School District to establish a standardized MSD support of MTA for the use of the Marymount courts. This goal will be $5,000 per year over 20 years. MTA will agree to conduct fundraising events according to a schedule that they will determine. And
I think we
that's it.
got kind of cut off here. Did we not get the
Yeah.
tail end of this thing?
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
it was on the back of a page.
I don't have
No,
it,
I
yeah,
can't find
that
it.
was it. Do you have the
not.
original?
Does anybody have the
this?
back of it?
Yeah,
Oh,
would I
Yeah.
can submit it?
Yeah, that's the
All
one
right.
that needs to be signed.
yeah.
How much more is there? Don't give that poor man more to read.
Okay.
We're too worried.
Oh, yeah, we got 2 signatures here, okay. MTA will provide a second estimate for J.K. Muir for court conditioning before the 2022 season. The Village of Marymount and MTA will review the scope of work and the bids from the 2 contractors and determine a course of action in advance of the 2022 season. It is estimated that the necessary conditioning of the courts will cost between $65,000 and $95,000. MTA and the Village of Marymount will work together for a long-term solution to ongoing court maintenance, which may include issuing a long-term bond to cover the expenses in excess of $500,000 to apply asphalt overlay or mill and fill that has a projected lifespan of 20 to 25 years. MTA will work with the village to develop a policy for the use of the courts by tennis pros for instructions or clinics. Policy will include requirements to use the courts, court time, reservation criteria, standardized fees for pros and participants, and any requirements for the participants. The committee discussed an estimate from PSS to replace part of the piping for the lap pool. These discussions quickly led to an overall discussion of pool operations. The committee will work with the Mariemont Pool Board to develop a 3-year business plan. The plan will include operational and capital expense budgeting, attendance projections, community engagement initiatives, and overall programming for the pool. The committee also reviewed a proposal from Craftsman Electric to update the electric and provide heat to the bell tower bathrooms so they could stay open longer. 3 quotes for the projects were received and reviewed, and Craftsman was selected because it was the most reputable with the lowest cost. The total cost of the project is $4,575. The village would contract and pay for the work and would be reimbursed by the preschool parents group, respectively submitted and signed by Randy York, Chair, and Susan Brown Knight, Vice Chair.
Okay. you've
That's a
heard-
mouthful.
Yeah, I'll say, it's a long one. You've heard the report. Do I have a motion and a second to accept the report?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Who's the second?
Am I allowed to second if I submitted?
Yeah, sure. All right, any discussion on this? This is a long report.
What was the last part about the MPPG? I'm sorry, I kind of,
So they paid
Would
for the,
reimburse.
yeah, they're gonna pay for that,
So-
updating the heat to bathrooms.
okay.
The electric work,
And
there's
which way,
electric
and
work
which
as well.
way are you going to do it? I mean, there were a bunch of different methods that you and I have discussed that,
Yeah.
which is the ultimate, what,
Well, they're gonna upgrade the electric service to the bell tower itself. I mean, there's gonna be electric heat in the 2 bathrooms.
and that'll enable the bell tower bathrooms to be open year-round? Or
Yes.
just extend the season?
Well, the goal is to have it year-round. I mean,
I guess it's kind of weather dependent if it's very
more or less.
extensive.
Yeah, I mean, it may not be toasty warm in there, but, because all you really need to do is raise the temperature enough so that the water doesn't freeze.
Right.
Of course, and that's another reason why you have to heat the basement area beneath the bathrooms, because the
The
supply
pipes,
pipes.
right.
Although John has done a reasonably good job of re-insulating those pipes, which will help, but you're still gonna have to have heat down there.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I understood the method by
Yeah.
which you were doing it.
Well, that's the method. And there was by the way, there was a slight increase in that.
$30?
Yeah, it's almost not worth mentioning. Yeah, so, but I've contacted them, we're on the schedule, that work will be proceeding shortly.
But as far as that committee report, you know, to give you the cliff notes, we simply need to plan for capital expenses, because we're not. The pool needs $143,000 to fix part of a pipe, and who knows what else that will lead to. The tennis courts need $500,000 to do, and we've not saved any money for it or put it aside for it. So we got to, hopefully this plan with the tennis can get us on the way to having about $30,000 funded a year into a kitty for those things. And then I've talked to a couple of the pool folks about putting together a 3-year plan, to kind of a business plan because which has never been done really before.
That's
Are
a
there
great call.
any accounting implications to restricting funds for repair and replace?
Well, we have various funds already set up. I mean, we could set aside money and put in a permanent improvement fund, and then it'd be used for capital projects,
Okay.
So
Well,
we can always move money out of operating or the general fund and put it where we want. We can always
Right,
do
we
that.
can do that.
Do we do separate permanent improvement funds? Could we say this is a tennis permanent improvement fund?
Yeah, we could set that
But
up.
we've never really done that.
No, we've never done that.
And then long-term funds, I don't know what the limitations are. Can we earn interest on long-term funds? So could we could we allocate long-term funds to money market? for
Yeah,
example?
so we have all these different funds, but we really only have one bank account, and we have an investment account. So we have
Okay.
2 accounts, I guess, really.
Okay.
So, but then we can split the interest somehow, sure.
So could we put the money that we're not going to spend for a while in the investment account?
Mm-hmm.
We're allowed to do that, okay.
Yeah.
Does that need any, how are those decisions made? Do you make them?
Me and Rob usually just
Okay.
talk, and we say,
Bitcoin.
We got a bunch of money.
Right.
No, we're only allowed to invest in certain
Doubloons.
very conservative type of
Gotcha.
stuff, so. But yeah,
Okay.
Rob and I talk about it.
So there's not an investment policy or anything that dictates that, which is fine, I'm just.
Well, obviously, preservation of capital would be the overriding investment, policy in that regard. And obviously, Tony's doing that, but,
Yeah.
But, to her point, though, you're sort of saying, can we create a fund for capital improvements at the tennis courts or the pool, put money into that fund, which basically is like sort of dedicated money that we would not be able to spend on something else?
Or perhaps, yeah.
Can we
Yeah,
actually do
that's-
that?
Temporarily
Yeah.
restricted
Yeah.
funds.
Yeah, I was on
Yeah,
a
we can do
Zoom
that.
call that talked about, most municipalities do that.
Can restrict
We can
the-
do that,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm guessing that would require a vote of some kind to temporarily restrict funds. But it might not be a good idea to temporarily restrict funds, but just name those funds too. So that would be something to discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do some accounting work for some nonprofits and things like that, and I always tell them, try not to restrict, your
much,
funds in
right.
case you need them for something else, and, you can't take it out because it's already.
Yeah, you can't take it out, although I would assume that, if you put it in by vote, you could probably take it out by
Yeah,
vote.
I suppose you could, yeah.
You could, so kind of my point. I'm not really sure that anything is really, ironclad restricted. It's good to have it sort of designated and earmarked, and you try to honor it. But, when the chips get down and we need money to pave streets or buy fire trucks or something else, then we have to get out the money. We can't have the money locked up in something we can't get to. Yeah.
But it is good if we can have different layers in our investment strategy so that if we're tapping into funds within, say, 5 years, or within the next 2 years, that is a different investment strategy than perhaps another longer-term investment strategy, so that we can earn some interest on, if we're dropping 30 grand or whatever else into that account, we can earn some interest on it.
We never really invested in something that we couldn't actually move the money. It's almost
Right.
like a money market account where you can move money with a phone call, and there's
It's
no.
pretty liquid.
And there's
Yeah.
no
Okay.
penalties for movements.
Yeah,
So
we're-
investment-
Yeah, we're restricted, we can't get into,
Okay.
stocks and that kind of thing.
Right,
so,
okay.
Yeah,
Helpful, thank you.
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So just to conclude that, we're going to have to make some difficult decisions, because something's going to happen to the tennis courts this year, and that's probably going to be $95,000 that we've not budgeted for. And, Bill and I are sitting on $143,000 for the
Swimming pool.
for the swimming pool. Do we do that, or do we let it leak for another year? We're going to have to do something, so.
Yeah. Well, we're having the discussion, and really, I mean, I'm not really laughing because it's not really that funny, but I mean, basically, just to start to have the discussion is almost something new around here, and that's a good thing.
We're gonna have to take a deep dive into that one.
Yeah, yeah.
Good. Well, thank you, Randy, for leading us through that,
You're welcome.
actually, though. It's been helpful.
Trying to be the best in the city.
That was a good.
Oh, yeah, we're on roll call for the thing. Mrs. Brown Knight?
What am I voting
This is
on?
to accept,
Oh,
Yeah, accept the
aye, I
report.
seconded that, didn't I? Aye.
you did. Dr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin?
Aye.
Mr. York?
Aye.
All right, we'll accept that report.
Now, do you want to leave that on your list, or will that come off?
On your agenda.
It can come off.
But,
Okay.
but we'll put it back on and just word it
Are you
differently.
going to do legislation for the tennis rates, or do you want me to? Ed,
Ed, yeah.
do you want to do the legislation for the tennis membership increases?
Yeah, I will do that.
Okay.
I think that's the only thing, I don't have
Yeah,
the
it's
second page of this thing, but I think that's all that goes, gets done by
Yes.
way of resolution, right?
Yes.
May I ask just a
I wrote myself a note.
Okay.
Just a question that, that does need to be discussed here, but is it possible to do some type of legislating so that rates, whatever they may be, could be raised within a certain, percentage
Percentage,
annually
yeah.
without having to go into committee and be discussed and then voted on multiple times? Is it possible, that's, it is legal? Okay.
We could probably
Thank you.
index it against inflation or something like that, too.
What's that?
We could probably index it against
Right.
inflation or,
Yeah, it's a
So-
good idea.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
All right, Tony?
All right, the next report from the Public Works and Services Committee regarding CLG Regional Refuse Bid. The Public Works and Service Committee met on February 8th, 2022 at 2:30 PM to discuss solid waste and recycling service beginning in January 2023. In attendance were the committee chairperson, Kelly Rankin, committee member Randy York, committee member Rob Bartlett, Service Department Supervisor John Schipperberg, and Mayor Brown. The village has the opportunity to participate in the SWORRE, which is the Southwest Ohio Regional Refuse Consortium, for the provision of waste and recycling services in a RFP along with 5 other communities. In participating in this program via the Center for Local Government, the village hopes to obtain more favorable rates for this service. We currently are under a contract directly with Rumpke, which expires at the end of 2022. We have the option to extend for 2 additional 1-year service at an increase of 3% annually. It is important to note that should the bid provided by our participation in the RFP not be favorable, we maintain the ability to opt out. It does not preclude us from the option to continue village service with Rumpke directly. The committee recommends engaging with the CLG for refuse service and has requested the village solicitor to provide the appropriate legislation. Due to the deadline of March 14th for the posting of the public advertisement for collection services bid, the resolution will need to be passed as an emergency, respectively submitted and signed by Kelly?
Me and him.
Okay, Kelly Rankin and
Is 2 good?
Randy York.
Okay, you've heard the report. Do I have a motion and a second to accept the report?
Yeah.
Well, I have a question, or does that come after?
That'll come after.
Okay.
A motion and a second?
so moved.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Second. Okay, discussion. You're going to say, I know we can't do it on emergency tonight. So, if that was your
No,
question.
my
Oh,
question,
because we don't have
We
5.
don't have enough.
Well,
So
okay.
this is going to be the first reading, so actually, if this becomes the first reading, we're not going to have discussion on this tonight, because we'll have discussion on it next meeting, during the second reading.
Is everybody here next, because I'm out next meeting, 28th.
Well, if we have 5, and then if we have to pass it on an emergency next meeting, we can do that.
As long as you don't take anybody with you.
I'm not, got just immediate family.
Okay, are we good with that? Did you have a question, Marcy, or I mean,
well,
I didn't mean to cut you
it's just
off.
not clear to me, from this report, are we engaging with them? Are we just getting a bid from them?
Essentially, I mean, Kelly can
So
probably.
we have the opportunity, it's basically a group bid, so we would go in, so they're, the Center for Local Government.
Are we obligated to participate? That's all
No,
I'm
we're
asking.
choosing to participate. That's what this is asking us. This is asking
But once we
council to
get the
give us-
bid, are we obligated to participate?
No.
Okay, I'm just getting clarifying.
No, it's good,
No.
'cause,
I mean, because, you know,
Well, I
I'm
mean,
very
that's, I
concerned
made a
about,
point to,
Yeah.
to specify
I just am
that.
very concerned about,
Right, that's
you
why I
know,
put in there about.
decreasing service to our residents. If, you
Right,
know-
when that's why I put in there that that does not obligate us.
Okay, I just was clarifying.
Okay.
We maintain the ability to opt out.
Yes, we do.
So is this typical? This is kind of normal like,
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
You join a group like this?
yeah,
Yeah.
we do, okay, so this is nothing we've not done.
It makes a lot of sense, and I think what Kelly's saying,
Okay.
it's really good for us too, because we join the group, get the bid that they're gonna get, and if it turns out that we can just extend our Rumpke contract in accordance with the accelerators in that, we just stick with them.
Say 30 or 60.
So this is
It's
just,
like, we're just
I'd
getting a
have to look at
price.
the
yes,
contract.
kind of thing,
okay,
yeah.
perfect.
Because service issues are gonna have to be a discussion.
I didn't know if I was voting on something that hadn't been done before, but it sounds like this is typical.
Yeah, and I was just trying to clarify, I didn't realize that there were two steps, like we had to
Yeah.
join to be able to get the bid. That's
Yeah.
what I,
Yeah.
that's what I didn't quite
Okay.
get, so.
Which is why I think we have to do it on an emergency next week, or next time. so that
Right,
we
because
can-
their bid, I mean,
because
we
we
are
want-
not in control of the date that they
Right.
post the bid.
Right.
Yeah, they're gonna do it with
They're
or
going
without
to,
us.
right.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
not
like I said,
opportunity we don't want to
We'll do it on
pass.
an emergency then.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for
Okay.
looking into this.
No, we need a
Oh, I'm sorry, geez, I need, Mrs. Brown Knight,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
Aye.
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right.
And I
Well,
will leave this on the agenda.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, until we can
What
pass
that
it.
does,
Yes.
Susan, is they pass the committee
Tiny
report, so the
Rosemary,
next step,
little
when you
reports.
pass the
Tiny
committee report, give it
reports.
to me to
Need to
prepare
get
the
some- I need to write
resolution or the
smaller
ordinance that
reports.
goes with it.
Yeah,
What's
yeah,
that?
you're,
Tonight,
Really
but we
like
can't
to
pass
do
it
an
tonight
example
on an
from the-
yeah,
emergency.
this is good, Kelly. Good job.
Thank you. That's helpful.
I'll write this.
Yes,
We have-
okay.
Okay, all right. From the Public Works and Service Committee, 2022 street projects. The Public Works and Service Committee met on January 21st at 4:00 PM to discuss the 2022 street projects. In attendance were the committee chairperson, Kelly Rankin, committee member Rob Bartlett, and committee member Randy York, Mayor Brown, and village engineer Chris Ertl. The topic of discussion was to determine which roads to solicit bids for paving, for repair and paving. Please see the attached schedule recommendation. For the year 2022, the committee recommends engineer Ertl submit bid requests for the following streets: Bank Place from Miami Road to Wooster Pike, Mound Way from Miami Bluff Drive to Mount Vernon Avenue, Mount Vernon Avenue from Indian View Avenue to Center Street. The areas in Wooster Pike Village Square parking will be added to the bid in the hopes to get better pricing for paving than the cost provided by Barrett when Wooster Pike was paved. Also discussed was the plan for stormwater assessment. Engineer Ertl will work with Service Department Supervisor Scherpenberg to review the current list of pour pipes and catch basins. The committee will meet again to determine a plan based on their findings. In order to allow Engineer Ertl sufficient time to secure bids, the resolution will need to be passed as an emergency. Respectively submitted and signed by Kelly Rankin, Chairman, and Randy York.
All right, you've heard the report. I need a motion in a second to accept the report.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all right. Any questions regarding the streets? Chris has got the table laid out here on the back. Chris, do you have anything you want to add to this?
No, and the only question is about the emergency ordinance, we can't do it tonight.
I can't do it tonight. Is this going to,
I have a question, kind of go back to Kelly's discussion. The 30 days to enact the legislation, is that both for resolutions and for ordinances?
Thank you. That's definitely, yeah. Is it? Because I know we've had some conversation if it is or is not. And I know that when you and I spoke, said it's 30 days regardless of whether it's an ordinance or a resolution. And that,
So I didn't hear you, Kelly, what you said.
well, to Chris is asking, and I agree with the question, is when we have a resolution, is it also 30 days?
No,
to-
resolutions, you only have to wait for 30 days, ordinances you do.
okay.
Okay, so resolution can go into effect.
Right.
We pass it on an emergency, it's in effect right then and
Next
there.
time we pass on an emergency, does that give you enough time?
I was just gonna say.
Well, that makes a big difference.
See if that's the case.
If we know that we do not need the extra 30 days, then we do not need to do it on an emergency. Is that,
Yeah.
that is correct? Okay.
That's my understanding. So if this can be a resolution,
You know, I say every year, I think these street rehabilitation projects are probably one of the very few that we should do on an emergency basis, because we always get the better price if we get it done early, and,
Okay.
yeah, but that's just me, you know. 'Cause we
Well,
do
it's a
too
valid
much.
point.
As you well know, we do a lot on emergencies that probably don't technically qualify as an emergency.
Well, okay,
Yeah, but we don't have 4, or we don't have 5.
Emergency, we'll work on it for next week.
yeah.
For next
Well,
week.
next time, yeah, we'll just do it on emergency then.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let this be the first reading.
Can I just ask you a quick question? I mean, so do you just go and assess streets and prioritize based on budget, or how do you, what's your little, I mean, 3 or 4 sentences, what's your
Yeah,
process?
so every year I drive the entire village, grade all the streets on a scale from 1 to 4.
Okay.
4 being the best, 1 being the worst. Average it out, I get a, 2.7, 2.3, whatever the scale is for the village, we've got that as a record. And then I take all the poor and worst streets, and we talk about them.
Don't you have any input on this?
And then go from there.
Great, thanks, thank you.
I
for the
have
clarifying.
that. If you'd like me to share that with you, I'm happy to do so.
If you want to email, it would be nice to know, just,
Okay.
I want to know.
I'll just send it to everybody. A little light reading.
Well, this is good to know too, so if somebody
Can't
says,
get to sleep.
our road's in terrible shape, and I say, well, we're,
Thank you,
we
Kelly,
can
for
tell
that.
them, hey, yeah, we're aware, and this is our plan.
Right,
So,
we'll do everything in this report we can.
Okay, on roll call, Mrs. Brown Knight,
Aye.
Dr. Lewis,
aye,
Mrs. Rankin,
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, we'll accept that report. All right, Tony, moving on to resolutions.
Any miscellaneous, Mayor? Citizen?
Oh, miscellaneous, I know, for some reason I always jump over the miscellaneous, don't I? Well, we already covered part of it earlier. The outstanding citizen nomination, I mean, those are still, can still be turned in, handed in. And we've already talked about the village strategy session. So I think
All right,
we covered it.
resolutions then.
Yeah.
All right. First one, to appoint Matt Ayer as a member of the Architectural Review Board for the calendar year of 2022.
Okay, that's the third reading. I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So move.
second,
Aye.
Mrs. Brown Knight.
Did I
Dr. Lewis.
get the
Mrs.
rhythm?
Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right.
He took issue with me
Matt
making
will
that
make
comment
a
last week.
nice addition to,
Yes, he will.
yeah, the ARB. And we got a couple of big things coming up on the ARB.
All right.
Tony,
All right, to authorize adoption of a premium-only insurance plan for the health savings account.
okay, that again, that is the third reading. I need a motion and a second to adopt.
So move.
Second.
Do I hear a second? I heard a second. Mrs. Brown Knight.
Aye.
Dr. Lewis.
aye,
Mrs. Rankin.
Aye.
Mr. York.
Aye.
All right, we'll adopt.
All right, next one, to confirm the reappointment of Christopher M. Ertl as the village engineer for the calendar years of 2021 and 2022 and to set compensation.
All right, that's the first reading.
Wait,
We'll
what?
have,
Did anybody run that by
Are those?
Chris?
yeah,
22 and 23?
Yeah, I don't, is that right, 21 and
Yes.
22?
Yes, because
Oh.
it's just to change the compensation.
Oh, so the years don't matter as far as,
No, because actually you'll need to be reappointed at the end of the month, or at the end of the year. So it's simply just to change the compensation.
oh, okay, okay.
unless you're happy with the current compensation.
I'll take a little bit.
Mine is 25 years.
Okay.
yeah, a whole 0.5%.
All right, Tony.
All right, authorizing the village of Marymount to participate in the Southwest Ohio Regional Refuse Consortium. And no emergency, right? Sorry.
No emergency, so
We have the first reading tonight, what, the second,
second
third?
reading,
Yeah.
the
Next
following, okay.
All right, next one, to authorize the solicitation of bids for the 2022 street repairs.
All right, again, we'll have the emergency next time, this being the first reading tonight.
All right, on the ordinances,
Ordinances,
to delete in their entirety sections 151.115 and 151.116, solar heating, cooling, and hot water systems from the Marymount Code of Ordinances, and to include new sections 151.115 through 151.21, solar energy systems.
okay, that being the second reading, is everybody clear with this? This is discussion, any discussion on this? Randy, do you have anything to add to this?
No, I think it's a good ordinance.
We all good? Ed?
No, yeah.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, we talked about it when Randy presented the committee report, and I think everyone knows what we're trying to do.
Do, okay, okay.
And I think, I tell you, Randy's committee did a great job on some of these ordinances that we're amending here.
Yeah,
And I presume we're working on the rental unit stuff,
Yeah, we,
we are.
which might be a little bit more dicey than normal.
That'll be good, okay.
we'll get it done.
Yeah, we'll get it done. Tony?
All right, ordinance to amend section 151.105 to address invisible fences in the Marymount Code of Ordinances.
Okay, again, second reading. We have discussed this. I mean, does anybody have any follow-up additional questions regarding this?
No,
No?
no, not here.
I don't hear any. All right, we'll have the third reading next, Counsel.
All right, ordinance amending section 151.091, temporary portable storage units and temporary portable toilets of the Marymount Code of Ordinances.
All right, again, second reading. Think this is fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
Any questions here? No? Okay. Third reading will be next, next Counsel,
Okay, next one's tabled, and then we got,
tabled.
to confirm the reappointment of Alyssa Windler as part-time IT administrator for calendar years 2022 and 2023, and to set increase in compensation.
Okay, that's the first reading. We'll have the second reading next time.
All right, next one, to repeal ordinance number O-18-21 pertaining to maximum pay rates for all grades of recreational employees, and to enact new legislation pertaining to maximum pay rates for all grades of recreation employees.
Okay, first reading. We'll have the second reading next, next Counsel.
Last one, to amend ordinance O-21-21 of the Marymount Code of Ordinances to increase payment for employees and to declare emergency.
All right, well, this will just be the first reading. We'll have the second reading and do the
Okay.
emergency next time. Questions? All right, this kind of takes us to the task list. Do we have any questions regarding the task list or where we are on the task list? I have a couple, since for some unknown reason, I seem to be the person accountable for the
Not
bulk
at
of
all,
the things
maybe.
on the task list. I can give just a quick update, on creating the Village Foundation. We're, the talks, and I want to say negotiations, we're not really negotiating, but we're proceeding with that. Randy, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, we've got 3 board members that have agreed to do it. I just need a 4th. Maybe I can get that tonight or tomorrow, and I think we'll just follow up with Lisa, and that's the first step. It's going to take about a year once we get the paperwork in to be, authorized or recognized as 501(c), but
You
we're
should
well
get a-
along our
yeah.
way.
You should get a temporary number, much faster that you can utilize quickly.
Is that, you get a temporary number and?
Yeah, I mean, again, I qualify my statements because it sounds like the IRS is a little bit of a mess right now.
Uh-huh.
But you don't have, you get a temporary number, and then it becomes official.
Official.
After a year.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. The audit committee, I don't really have anything to report on that just yet. I don't know, are we ready for the audit?
Yeah, me and Rob went over the audit report and all that, and he said he's gonna get the audit committee together.
Together?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well,
Can I,
okay, so the mayor's name should be taken off the person
Yeah,
accountable for
yeah,
that.
I agree.
Yeah. All right, finish work on the Murray Path. I know Matt Ayers is working, probably he's the point man on that at the moment. I know we're very close.
Yeah, I think we're up to date on everything. I think Chris has been doing a lot of work on that. There you go.
Okay, there you go.
Chris.
Yeah.
There's one more to do, so once Pinnacle gets paid and we get that canceled check, then I'll submit that for reimbursement, and I think that'll. For the boxes to go over the sprinklers. Oh, okay. One more, but yeah, I'm keeping track of that, so
Yeah.
there'll be another reimbursement coming.
Okay, okay.
can I get, just tell me where these conversations should be had, because it may not be right now. Where is relative to rental units and inspection? Last time we talked about that, that went under rules and law, but I don't see it. Is it supposed to be listed there?
Probably.
Probably. Because I utilize this as my task
Right,
list
right.
for the committee, so.
And I think you and I have talked about it, that we're having this
Oh, yeah.
group,
So just
working
to,
with the landlords to kind of get a little more input and a direction
Yeah.
as to what way we should go.
there was a couple of changes that they wanted. One of them was to go from 10 days to 5 days. Once they alert that they want an inspection, to get an inspection, which we were fine with. And then there's the checklist that we're using. And the idea was if a property hits a certain threshold, do we then grant them a 5-year rental authorization, rental, or a 3-year? And what's interesting is, and Rod and I haven't got together to look at that because they wanted to prioritize it as well. The problem is, when you look at that checklist, I think they ought to pass everything to get 5 years. If then, I mean, I really can't, because it's about the safety of the people. It doesn't have a ground fault, so you say, okay, that's, I think my guess is, once we get out of this stuff, we're gonna say, you know what, if you want 5 years, you have to pass everything on
Everyone,
this
Everything
checklist.
on
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're on there for a reason.
yeah,
And the checklist is minimal. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the starting point.
yeah.
It's lengthy, but nothing in there is daunting.
So,
Well, it's not daunting, it's not draconian, it's not,
Right.
overwhelmingly
Right.
difficult.
It's
I mean,
checklist.
it's, more or less, this is pretty basic,
It is
safety
basic. So,
stuff.
Yeah.
Randy, what was the big complaint if you,
I
of the
really
Marymount
think, and
apartments?
Mayor, you can chime in here, I really think that they thought we were being more egregious than we are. I think we got them in here, I think there were 16 here. It was well received, and the dialogue was terrific, I think it's clearly a partnership. And, the idea of can you go into a unit without permission? We're not doing any of that. So there's a lot of fear out there. So I think once they saw it and really, got to see where we were coming from with the inspections. But I understand if they want, because if they're getting a rental, if they're changing these units, they gotta change them quick. They're gonna need to get that inspection done.
Right.
They don't wanna lose a tenant because we can't get an inspection done, and we don't want that either.
right.
yeah.
So I think because of that, we made some adjustments. They really wanted to push hard for 5 years on a rental permit, and, again, I think we'll look at it, and Rod, and we'll engage you in this. If it's a superior rating, and then maybe we give them 5 years, but if it's not, I think we revert back to the 3 years.
And
Well,
and remember too, that a tenant can initiate an inspection.
Right.
Should something be decided by the tenant that there's something dangerous, something needs to be looked at, they can call the office and initiate the inspection. I believe it's at their cost.
Yes, that
But
is-
but
that is-
nevertheless, I mean, it's sort of like a fail-safe backup,
Right.
to it.
Okay.
Right. And I think, though, that one of the key points that was made in that meeting, that this is the first time we've done this, so it's gonna get tweaked as we learn from it. The rules that we make right now are guidelines until we work it out, and then we come up with a system, and then that's the system.
You're right.
So this conversation will be had in rules and law. I just was wanting to make sure it got on the list.
Yeah, we should-
Just because it's,
We should list it.
Still
in.
pending, certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that it gets done and across the finish line.
yeah.
Okay.
So I'm kind of seeing a little bit of a trend with our guests tonight and then with this, that maybe as committee chairs or whatever, we need to maybe make sure we reach out to whoever's affected. Maybe do a little bit better job at that. Just maybe be cognizant of that, and if you're
Well-
not sure, because sometimes I think there's nothing, there's no bad intention. It's just sometimes, you just want to get something done on your list.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, maybe a little
you're
more,
right about
just
that,
maybe a
yeah.
little more aware.
yeah.
That's a good point, but you don't know what you don't know. I like that they're all gonna opt in. I know that we sent
I think
that
that's key.
link to all the
Yes.
property owners
Yes.
and said, opt in. If you wanna know what's going on, you can opt into all this.
Right.
And we had that conversation with them at the meeting and said, look, that's the key. Like Jenny said, sign up for the communications and you'll know what's going on. I mean, I agree with you that we have a target audience, we need to reach out to them. But I think in general, the more people that get those emails and say, oh, there's a meeting here that I might want to be involved in.
Yeah, that would be the point, basically, to make a little bit more of a concerted effort to get the word out to those most directly affected, that we are going to be holding a committee meeting, and now is your opportunity to come in and participate. Yeah, yeah. And I think I stressed that tonight.
Well, I also want to just thank both of you for the work you're doing to make sure that that input is heard this round.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, continuing on, the Boathouse roof repair, Matt Ayer and I met with the people from,
The roof place.
the roof guy.
1-800-4-MR-Roof?
No, the roof over in the boathouse.
Not the,
No. Well, I met with that guy too, but anyway, I'm waiting on
Which-
the
which
estimate.
crisis?
Yeah. Okay, Randy, the cleanup of the fire hydrants, assessing the parks.
well, we got, I talked to John about that, and we've talked about it. And I guess Rod talked to you about, we can paint them any color we want. So we gotta figure out what color we're gonna paint the fire hydrants. As long as it doesn't hide them. So we can't do camouflage.
Can't do camo? What about pink camo?
No, that's not gonna be part of it either. Apparently, you're off the committee now, so.
Yeah, yeah.
I know how to.
Note to self, that works.
Yeah. Can I ask quickly, the Boathouse discussion, just briefly, we were also gonna take a look at why that roof deteriorated so
right.
rapidly.
Yeah.
Are steps being taken to assess that, so that if we do invest again in another roof, we understand either it's only really a 25-year roof because kids run on it, or
Well,
it indeed
Yeah.
is
We're
legitimately
we're nowhere near investing in a new roof. I mean, essentially, the assessment that's being done now is for repair.
but it's still quite a bit of money.
Because of the nature of the roof. It's a
Yeah.
stone roof,
Right.
and, getting sourcing material and so on and so forth, yeah, it's gonna be expensive, but it's gonna be nowhere near what it would be to replace the roof now. Yeah.
I apologize for my poor use of words there. So it's gonna be a lot of money to repair a roof that we put on 25 years ago that was supposed to last 100 years.
Yes.
And so the question that I have is why? So that we understand, what we're really dealing with and understand what we are investing in and its limits.
Well,
And
no,
what we
it's-
can do to monitor that.
It's a legitimate question, and like I said, we're sort of relying upon the roof people to sort of tell us,
Okay.
make a determination, and
Why?
given the kind of damage that they're seeing, how, what is their best estimate or guess as to how the damage occurred. And yes, it's possible that kids have been climbing on it, that could be part of it. And I'll be talking with the chief, we might want to put better signage up, we might have to put up some, well, I don't want to get into everything that we
Barbed
might
wire.
do. Yeah. A way of monitoring the roof so that we will know what is going on with the roof.
Understood.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
thank you.
Okay. And now, the rest of the list, A through F, has to do with the swimming pool. And I'm just going to say that the bulk of that, Randy and I basically have been, we're talking about the leaks, some of these other things, and one way or another, I've had contact with various people. Randy, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, it's just, there's no easy answer.
Answer to some of
what
this
we're
kind of
gonna do.
stuff?
I mean,
Yeah.
I have a quick question on that. How much are we engaging the pool commission in this process?
Well, Randy and I attend every meeting, and we
Okay.
will be attending.
And we're pushing stuff to
Okay,
them,
that's
no
what I
doubt.
was
We're-
wondering,
yeah.
how much responsibility they'll
Yeah,
take.
yeah. We're going to make it clear, where the village is going to come down on this and what we're going to be prepared to do and spend money on.
Okay,
Yeah, so.
thank you.
Okay. Well, whether or not I'm going to remodel the offices, haven't decided that yet. Well, the fiscal officer thing, that's kind of ongoing. The rental inspections, we just talked about it. And, we did have a little mishap over at the bell tower batting cage area. The maintenance building over there, the storage building, the long one, the new metal one that's been there, I guess been there now longer than you think, about 20 years maybe? Years? No?
Yeah, that's not been 20.
5? Really?
Really?
It wasn't there when I coached.
That was
That's been 10
40
years.
years
That
ago.
was not 40 years.
150 years.
I'll see if I can I'll see if I have anything.
When Doubleday was playing baseball?
Abner.
Well, in any event, because of the heavy snow and ice thing that we had a little partial minor collapse of the roof. Collapse of the roof is not actually accurate, just sort of sagged down somewhat. The walls bowed out a little bit. We are in the process of putting together a plan to correct that.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw the pictures today, yeah. So,
Was that donated? That,
No,
no.
we bought it, and the rec committee was gonna go
Can I ask one other question? And I will keep up with this pace at some point. Going back to the office remodeling, you were saying we don't know. Is this, we approved those funds last year, right? And we approved them again this year.
Right.
What's keeping us from doing that?
Well.
Shoot, did I just open Pandora's box? We can table that conversation, but that was.
Well, no, I'll give you a really fast update. One of the things that I am working on that I am going to be moving ahead with is getting new front doors on this building. The front doors on this building are a disaster. They have to be replaced. I met with some specialists that do that type of work, and, you know, because of the weather and everything, you don't want to go pull the front doors out of the building this time of year. That's going to be a little expensive, you know, kind of a thing. There may have to be some additional, you know, roof work on this building as well. There was a bit of a gutter problem, you know, in the office area. We want to make sure that we have that corrected before we start doing any work in there.
Okay.
But any work that's done in the administrative office is going to take considerable planning and preparation and care as to how that's going to be done. So I don't want to do it hastily. I don't want to do that too quick. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Is that something that how do we go about that? Is that so just collectively with staff, that planning's done? Do we hire somebody
Yeah, I
to
would
oversee
probably,
that?
I would work, now, I have been working with some people at Bob Rich's architectural firm.
Okay.
You know, that does interior work, you know, that kind of a thing. But there's gonna be a limit as to, you know, to totally redo it over there,
Yeah.
you know, we could really blow a big hole in that budget. But some of the basic necessities that are needed over there, you know, like paint, carpet, window treatments, you know, things like that, just sort of making it, you know, a slightly more desirable space. And of course, there's way too much furniture in that room, given the
Yeah.
size of the room. So I would like to be able to, you know, do something about that. But yeah, I will have to work with, you know, interior people. Although, you know, my own background, you know.
Oh, that's true. That is,
Yeah, I
yeah.
owned an interior design business for 30 years.
I
know a
apologize,
teeny
yes.
bit about it.
Yeah,
Yeah, so,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
And aren't you scanning in a bunch of old documents and getting rid of?
That's why I chose.
That's why he spoke up.
All the paper that's sitting in there needs to be scanned in. And I am, at the current time, the only source of scanning. And I scan, I don't know, 30 hours a month or something. But you take a set of plans that got here before people started delivering PDF files. Rod's doing a great job getting anything new in PDF files. But, you know, it may take you 3 days to scan in some high school plans. They're leaning up against the wall. But if you walk in that office,
Yep.
we're gonna have to get rid of every bit of that paper before you could do the major remodel.
Yeah.
And to me, that's, do you agree that's probably one of the rate limiting steps, Jody?
It's one of the major
This is why I
impediments.
got all to have most of those boxes.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if you could get some, like high school students who need service hours to help with that.
No.
They can't do that. You can't, okay, okay. It's too skilled. Okay, that's all right.
And then the other part of it is after you scan it, getting the file in the right place, into the right folder, so that 5 years from now, it can be picked up off that address. And I scanned for a couple of years before COVID, and I'm finding all my old files, I have to go back and rename them all, because they were just dumped into a directory.
Yeah.
Okay.
To speed up the paper, you know, mountain monster that's in that office is a major impediment to doing, you know, any kind of remodeling over
Yeah,
there.
that makes
Now, Vicky, the police clerk, has given me the name of a gentleman who basically specializes in municipal paperwork. And essentially, he determines what you have to keep and not keep. And I am going to engage with this person the first opportunity that I get and have him come over and look at this mountain of paperwork. And he may be able to say, you know,
We have a retention policy.
Yeah,
well, we need to know what that is, you
We
know.
have it.
I gave it to
Yeah.
Vicky.
We have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got that. I don't think we need
If we need
I don't think we need to talk to anybody about it. We've got it.
Well, we got it, but I mean, is it being implemented?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think legally, the village needs to have copies of every blueprint, it is approved.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Now, once we scan it in and I verify it's been scanned in, the thing's readable, et cetera, we can deep six that plan. So it's a matter of time.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a journey. Gotcha.
Well,
It's a marathon, not a sprint. I'm hearing you.
the other thing
There's
is,
a
I know Rod would like to get rid of the scanner. The question is, we're gonna need that scanner someplace. So maybe as part of your reorganization, where would that go?
Maybe down at the maintenance facility.
Tax office, they got plenty of room down there.
You can't put it there because you can't be in there.
I think we skipped a couple steps. We could fight over where the scanner goes.
All right, we'll get to, yeah.
You also
Any,
need computer access,
yeah,
or whatever that is,
All right.
tied into your IT system.
okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Are we good? All right, we're adjourned.
Thank you.
Oh, shoot.